Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. On today's video we'll be working on a short pant, or you can call it knicker, anyone that you prefer. So we're cutting on short pant. The length of the person is 17 inches. The length of the person is 17 inches, and I'll be adding 2 inches folding allowance. 2 inches folding allowance, so I'll have 19 inches. Then on that 19 inches I'll minus 2 inches for the band, so I am marking 17 inches. So this is 17 inches for the length of the shirt, and this is 2 inches for the band. So after that I'll now mark the hip line and the crunch line. The hip line is 9 inches and the crunch line is 12 inches. But before marking that, remember to do minus 2 inches, that's for your band. So I will now connect it with a straight line. So after connecting the lines, the next thing I have to do is to divide the hip into 4 and mark it on both the waist, the hip and the crunch line. So the hip is 40 divided by 4, that is 10 inches. Then I'll be adding 1.5 inch for sewing allowance, that's 11.5. So I'm marking it both on the waist, the hip and the crunch line. So I'll connect it with a straight line. After that I will extend the both lines. So now we have my waist, my hip and the crunch line, and this is the full length. I hope you understand. So after this, after marking this, the next thing I have to do is to divide the laps into 2. The laps is 24 divided by 2, that will give me 12 inches plus 2 inches sewing allowance, that's 14 inches. So I'm marking it on the crunch line. So from the hip line I'll now connect it, but from that crunch line I'll now carve it back to the hip line. Then after that, the next thing is to divide the waist by 4. Her waist is 30 divided by 4, that is 7.5, plus 1 inch sewing allowance, 1.5 inch sewing allowance, that's 9 inches. So I'll start from here instead of here. I'll start from here and mark the 9 inches, or 9.5 rather. Or from here I'll now carve it down to the hip line. I'm using my free hand because this is a material, the material is really dancing with me. Let me use that word. So I connect it back to the hip. Then after that I will now come to the full length and I'll mark, is either you mark 1 inch or 1.5 inch, depending how curved you want it, but I'll mark 1 inch on this one. So after marking 1 inch, I'll connect it from the crunch line down to that 1 inch. So after that, the next thing is to mark the round nail measurement. So her round nail measurement is 20 inches divided by 2 will give me 10, plus 2 inches sewing allowance, that is 12. So I'm marking the 12 on the down part, and I'll connect it from the crunch line down to 12 inches. This is what we have. Why I did not mark this thing down to here is because if I am cutting it, I'm going to fold this part in. Remember, this is a folding allowance. I'm going to fold it in and cut so that I can be able to cut it well, and I will have a folded area. Okay, so this is what I have for the short. And then the next thing you have to do, if your short is going to have a pocket, all you have to do is come to this part. You mark 2 inches or 1.5, is your choice. 2 inches or 1.5. Then from here you measure 7 inches. That's on this line. That's where my 7 inches reach. Then from here you come out by 1/2 inch. So from these 2 inches you connect it down to that 1/2 inch. That is for your pocket. So the next thing I have to do now is to cut this out. But while cutting it, I will not cut this pocket part now. I will cut it later. So the reason I fold this folding allowance inside is because if I cut it straight, I will not have enough fabric that will allow me to fold it. But you see that as I fold it inside and cut, this part was able to get to the end, and this part was able to get to the end. So the next thing I have to do is to notch the folding allowance area so that I won't make mistake while folding it. So now we have our front bodies. So the next thing we have to do now is to move to the back bodies. To cut the back bodies, I folded another fabric into 2, and I placed the front part and the front bodies on it. So all I have to do now is from this angle, from this crunch line, I'll mark 2 inches, and then from this full length I'll mark 1.5. So I'll connect it from here down to I'll connect it from the crunch line, from the 2 inches down to the 1.5 inches allowance. You see that? So the next thing I have to do now is from this angle, I'll come out by 1/2 inch. This angle 1 inch, and this part 1.5 inch. This angle 1/2 inch. This hip line 1 inch, and this part, this curve line 1.5. So from there I'll curve the line down to the 2 inches that I mark. Then after that, this front part, I'll come in by 1 inch, and I'll slant it down to the side. So I am cutting this 1 inch out. So from that 1 inch, I'll come up by 2 inches. That is for the back. I'll connect it back to this 1/2 inch line. Then I'll slant it down to this point. The reason for these 2 inches at the back is so that when you wear your clothes, maybe you sit down or you're on a bike, your back part will not be showing. That's the essence of these 2 inches. And this 1 inch at the front is so that the front the front pant will not come up too much on the waist. That's the essence of that. So after doing this, we are done for the back. This part, you're cutting it exactly this way. You're not adding anything. This angle, you're cutting it. Remember, here is 2 inches, here is 1.5, and here is the closing hemming allowance. This is the part where I take out 1 inch from the front that I'm cutting out and 2 inches from there to the back. So that's all we have for the back bodies. I'll now cut it out and separate it and show you. So I'm cutting from this part. So I am going to fold this part in again to be sure of what I am cutting. I have to tear this part so that it will allow me to fold. So you notice I fold both the front and the back in. So after that, I'll now cut out this 1 inch from there. I will cut ½ inch. I'll be leaving ½ inch for joining allowance. I cut out only ½ inch. I'll be leaving ½ inch for the joining allowance. If you notice, I didn't add any joining allowance, and I'll be adding band on this upper part. Okay, so let's open and see what we have. I'm notching the joining area. So let's separate it and see what we have. So this is the back bodies and this is the front bodies. So the next thing I have to do now is to cut out this pocket part that is at the front. So I'm cutting it out. This is it for the pocket. I just cut it out. I'll fold this one and keep them. To cut the pocket, I'll measure 13 inches by 9. So I have 13 inches by 9. So I will now cut it. You can cut it open from here if you want. If you don't want, you can leave it. So I'm cutting this again. I need 2 of it. And I'm not cutting my open. Because the client said that she wants her pocket to be very deep. That's why I'm cutting 13 by 9. So that the pocket will be deep. That's my aim of cutting it this way. So remember the band, I might lost 2 inches. So, and I'm cutting this on fold. If I am to fold it now, I'm cutting it on fold. That's 4 inches. Then I'll be adding 1 inch for joining allowance. You get, that's half inch to the both side. That's 5. I'm having 5 inches for the bind. So now I'll keep the fabric open because the fabric is too dancing. So I'll keep it open and measure 5 inches. So after marking the 5 inches, I will now measure it to know if it's up to the waist. So now this is what I have for the band. I'm going to iron hairstay on it. So this is my band. This is 5 inches. By the waist is 30 inches, but I cut more than 30 inches so that I won't have short of it. So after cutting the band, the next thing is